Welcome to this deep dive, The Learner. Today we're looking into something I think we all run into, the fog of certainty. Think about those times when you just feel absolutely sure about something. Maybe you're in a discussion, a meeting, and your perspective gets challenged.
Right.
What's really happening, like underneath that feeling of conviction? Our sources suggest it's often about how tightly we're gripping our beliefs.
Yeah, and that grip itself can actually blur what's truly in front of us. It creates this fog.
Exactly, the fog. So our mission today is really to explore this fog, how it forms, what keeps it there, and maybe how understanding it can bring some surprising clarity into your own life, the learner.
We'll be digging into the weight of knowing how our bodies, how they hold on to things, the comfort we find in what's familiar.
And ultimately, it's kind of an invitation, isn't it, to approach our own certainty with a bit more curiosity.
Curiosity instead of just conviction.
Okay, so let's start with that weight of knowing.
Think about a time, the learner, you felt that real urge to defend your point. Maybe you physically leaned in, or maybe you just sort of shut down emotionally.
Happens all the time.
Right. These aren't just random reactions. Our sources mention an idea from Gestalt therapy. It's called figure formation.
Figure formation, okay.
Imagine like a spotlight, whatever it shines on, that becomes the figure, right? Everything else just fades into the background, the ground.
Got it.
So in those tense moments, what does that spotlight hit for you? Is it just what the other person is saying? Or is it maybe your own internal story about what their words mean?
So it's not just what becomes a figure, but whether that figure is the external thing, their words, or my internal interpretation. That's a key distinction.
Exactly. It shows how easily our own narratives can just overshadow the actual conversation happening right now.
And this fog, you mentioned, it's built from past experiences, times we felt maybe unheard or invalidated.
Precisely. The coping mechanisms you developed back then, maybe they were helpful at the time, absolutely. But they might now be the very things creating this fog in your current interactions.
It's like our history sets up these automatic reactions, even if the situation right now doesn't really call for that level of defense.
That's a great way to put it. Those past experiences lay down these kinds of belief systems about ourselves, about the world.
Right.
And when something in the present just nudges one of those core beliefs, the figure suddenly becomes our interpretation based on that history, not the reality of what's being said.
The past becomes this filter. And sometimes, often maybe that filter distorts what we see.
Definitely.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly. Let's turn our attention to the body, because our sources really highlight this. The mind can explain away almost anything.
Oh yeah, it's very good at that.
But our physical sensations, they often reveal these deeper underlying truths.
Take a moment right now, the learner. Just check in with your body. Any tightness, shoulders, stomach, maybe your hands are fidgeting. These physical feelings, these sensations, they can be clues to what Gestalt therapy calls unfinished gestalts.
Unfinished gestalts.
Yeah.
Okay, what does that mean exactly?
It means situations or emotions from the past that weren't fully resolved, they didn't complete their natural cycle, and they're still influencing how you experience things today.
Like an argument you never really finished, maybe, that lingering feeling.
Exactly like that. Or think about earlier experiences, maybe times you felt dismissed or not seen.
Okay.
That kind of experience can build a core belief like, I need to constantly prove my worth.
Right, I can see that.
So then fast forward, you're in a meeting, your ideas get questioned, which might be totally normal feedback, but suddenly...
It doesn't feel like it's about the project anymore.
No. It triggers that old feeling.
Uh-huh.
It becomes a fight for your self-worth. The body remembers that original feeling.
Wow. So the body is like this living archive of these unresolved experiences.
It really is. It holds on to those tensions, those sensations, and they get reactivated in the present when something echoes the past.
Which brings up a big question. How often are we reacting to these echoes instead of actually responding to what's happening right here, right now?
That's the crucial question.
And the challenge then, as our sources point out, is to start noticing these patterns, but without judging ourselves for them. Just recognizing how they shape our lives, our relationships.
Yeah, and maybe clearing some of that fog in the process. It's about bringing awareness, not necessarily fixing everything at once.
Just seeing it first.
Awareness is the first step, always. Without recognizing the pattern, how this kind of comment triggers that physical feeling or those defensive thoughts, it's really hard to choose differently next time.
Okay, but there's also this strange comfort in the fog, isn't there? Even though it limits our view.
Absolutely. Seeing the world through our existing beliefs, it means fewer surprises, fewer bumps in the road.
It's like taking the same route home every day, even if it's longer, just because you know it.
Yeah.
It feels predictable, safe.
Well, what's the cost of that safety? That's what our sources push us to ask. Clinging too tightly to what we think we know, it can shut us off from real human connection, from our own growth.
If we always assume we know how things will play out or what someone really means.
We miss the potential for something new, something unexpected, maybe something better.
Yeah. Think about the learner, how often you really truly listen without already building your counterargument in your head.
Or retreating into your own thoughts.
Exactly. That feels protective, sure, but it prevents real connection, which needs vulnerability, right?
Yeah.
It needs us to be okay with maybe not knowing.
That discomfort of uncertainty. True connection requires being fully present, open to the other person's experience without running it through our filters immediately.
So that comfort we find in our certainty, it might actually be isolating us without us even realizing it.
It can, yeah. It requires being receptive, not just reactive.
So this deep dive, it's not really about giving answers, is it, the learner?
No, not at all. It's more like an invitation to get curious about your own stories, the narratives you tell yourself, the beliefs you hold on to.
Are those beliefs still actually serving you? Or have some of them become, well, obstacles?
Yeah, obstacles preventing you from seeing new possibilities or connecting differently. Think about a belief you hold really strongly. Has it always led to good things? Or has it sometimes maybe contributed to conflict or misunderstanding?
And looking at that, it isn't always easy. It takes courage, definitely. Patience, too, just to sit with the discomfort of examining those deep beliefs.
It really does, but doing that, it creates space. Space to reclaim a more authentic you, maybe. To live more in line with your actual values, not just old programming.
It's like decluttering your mind, letting go of beliefs that don't quite fit anymore.
And seeing the fog itself not as the enemy, but maybe as a signpost.
A signpost, how so?
Pointing towards areas where there's an opportunity. For growth, for transformation. The real work starts when you choose to gently move towards the fog, Explore what's in it, instead of just turning away instinctively.
Seeing the fog not as bad, but as informative.
Exactly. It holds valuable information about ourselves.
Okay, let's go a bit deeper then. What actually keeps this fog going? What are the mechanisms? And as we talk about these, the learner, just maybe notice if anything comes up for you. Sensations, thoughts.
All right. So Gestalt therapy talks about the cycle of experience. It's like a natural flow.
Okay.
It starts with sensation. You notice something, a feeling, something in the environment. Then comes mobilization. You gather energy, prepare to respond. Then action, you do something, speak, move. Then contact, that's the real engagement. And finally, withdrawal, integrating the experience, letting go, moving on.
Sensation, mobilization, action, contact, withdrawal. Okay.
But the thing is, most of us interrupt this cycle somewhere along the line.
We hit pause.
Yeah, we hit pause or rewind or fast forward.
Yeah.
We don't let the experience complete naturally. And those interruptions, that's what creates the unfinished gestalts we mentioned.
And rigid beliefs play a big role here.
Huge. For example, if you deeply believe your opinions don't matter, you might just skip mobilization altogether when you have an idea.
So you feel the sensation, the idea, but you don't gather the energy to speak up.
Exactly. You interrupt the cycle right there. And that leads to feeling unheard, maybe fragmented inside. And these repeated interruptions, they become patterns, ingrained patterns.
And avoiding vulnerability fits in here too. It feels safer short term.
But it stops the cycle. Often before real contact can happen, it prevents us from experiencing the fullness of being human, really. And yeah, it thickens the fog.
Like building walls. They keep discomfort out, maybe, but they keep connection out too.
Think about it, the learner. How often do you find yourself avoiding certain emotions, difficult chats, challenging situations, maybe by distracting yourself or just changing the subject really fast?
We all do it.
We do, and we have to ask, what are we really afraid of facing when we do that?
That avoidance, even when it's subtle, it sends this message to ourselves, doesn't it? Like, I can't handle this.
Exactly. And that reinforces those limiting beliefs about what we're capable of. It's that little voice whispering, too hard, too much.
And from that Gestalt view, avoidance is also about trying to maintain control, keep things predictable.
Yeah, trying to preserve this illusion of predictability in a world that's, well, not always predictable, but the emotions we suppress, the conflicts we sidestep, they don't just disappear.
They fester.
They grow stronger under the surface. They become part of that unfinished business feeding the fog.
So maybe think about The learner. A time recently you consciously avoided something. A conversation, a feeling. The point isn't judgment, right?
Not at all. Just gentle awareness. Noticing the avoidance itself. That awareness is the doorway. The first step to maybe choosing differently next time.
Recognizing our avoidance patterns helps us see what we're actually afraid of beneath the certainty.
And another big mechanism is projection.
Ah, yes. Attributing our own stuff, thoughts, feelings, traits, onto other people.
Ever find yourself judging someone, maybe for being insecure, and then have that moment of realization, oh, wait.
That's actually my insecurity I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Ouch.
It happens. Projections show us parts of ourselves we might not be willing to look at directly. It's like seeing a reflection, but not recognizing it's you.
Easier to see it out there.
They're much easier. So in Gestalt, reclaiming those projections, taking back those qualities we've put onto others, is a really crucial step towards wholeness. Integrating those disowned parts.
So maybe an experiment for you, the learner. Next time you find yourself judging someone harshly for something, pause. Gently ask, okay, what might this judgment be saying about me?
With genuine curiosity, though, not self-blame, it can be surprisingly insightful.
Okay, so we've talked interpretation, history, avoidance, projection. Let's bring it back to the body again, because the mind interprets, but the body.
The body offers direct access, right now, to our emotional state. Think back to that meeting scenario again. The tense exchange. What did your body tell you then?
A racing heart, tense shoulders, a knot in the stomach, or maybe even feeling kind of numb.
All clues. A racing heart might signal needing approval or fear. Tension could mean resistance. Numbness might be disconnection, a form of self-protection.
Our bodies hold so much information, often before our thinking mind catches up.
Absolutely. So practicing what's sometimes called embodied awareness is really helpful. Just intentionally tuning into your physical experience.
How can we do that practically?
You can try a simple grounding exercise right now, the learner. Notice your feet on the floor, your weight in the chair. Then just gently scan your body, maybe toes to head. Notice any sensations, tightness, warmth, tingling, whatever. Without judging, just notice.
And ask, what are these sensations telling me about how I feel right now?
Exactly. It gives access to a deeper understanding beyond just thoughts.
So reflecting on all this, maybe think about your own patterns, the learner. Where do you tend to interrupt that cycle of experience?
Yeah, where do you get stuck? Is it mobilizing energy, taking action, making real contact, or maybe letting go, withdrawing, and integrating?
And again, no right or wrong answer here.
None at all. It's just about cultivating awareness of your unique way of being in the world.
Think about a recent time you felt stuck. What beliefs or fears might have been running the show then?
And looking back with kindness, could you have approached it differently? This kind of self-reflection, done with patience, with self-compassion, that's what peels back the layers of the fog. Little by little, revealing clarity.
And maybe we can see the fog itself differently too. Not just as an obstacle, but as a teacher.
Yes. A teacher pointing towards areas inside that need some attention, maybe some healing, some growth.
Every interruption, every mechanism like avoidance or projection, it's actually an opportunity.
An opportunity to reconnect with ourselves, with the world. So the invitation is to try and embrace the fog, and investigate the discomfort it brings up. Trust that it holds potential for transformation.
Okay, as we kind of start to wrap up this part of our exploration, just take a moment. The learner. Reflect on any shifts, any new awareness that might have surfaced for you during this deep dive.
And remember, transformation is usually gradual. It's a process, not an event.
One really interesting idea that comes up is this paradox of certainty.
Yes. The more certain we are, the less clearly we might actually be seeing things.
Which really challenges our culture's value on confidence, on always knowing, right?
It does. Because clinging too tightly to needing to be certain, it can limit connection, as we said. It can stifle creativity, trap us in old patterns.
Like clenching your fist around water, the tighter you squeeze, the less you hold.
That's a great image. So instead of striving for absolute certainty all the time, what if we experimented with leaning into uncertainty?
Becoming more comfortable in the gray areas, where things aren't simple black and white.
Exactly. Trusting that clarity often comes from just being present with what is, rather than forcing answers. It can feel uncomfortable, sure, but ultimately it can be incredibly liberating.
It raises that question. Can we find a different kind of strength in admitting we don't know everything?
I think we can, and that ties into the idea of completing the unfinished.
Right, that unfinished business we talked about. It keeps influencing us, feeding the fog, often unconsciously, like a program running in the background.
And completion doesn't always need big dramatic gestures. Sometimes small things work. Writing a letter you don't send. Sitting quietly with a charged memory, allowing the feelings. That can be really powerful.
So maybe reflect, the learner, on an area of incompleteness in your life. What comes up emotionally? What might even a tiny step towards resolution look like for you?
Completion is often about honoring the experience, making peace with what can't be changed, and that helps clear the fog. It brings clarity to the present.
Which leads nicely into responsibility.
Yes, but responsibility not in a blaming way. More like owning your role in shaping your reality through your beliefs, choices, actions. Gestalt calls this self-support.
Standing in your truth, but also being willing to question your own assumptions, being accountable to yourself.
And doing that, taking that kind of responsibility, it actually deepens empathy. It allows for more authentic dialogue based on understanding, not needing to be right.
So where might you be avoiding responsibility, the learner? What would greater ownership look like?
Cultivating the self-support, it empowers you. It helps you navigate the fog with more resilience, more agency.
And it's important to remember, the learner, the fog isn't permanent. It's temporary. It doesn't define your reality.
Beneath it, there's always possibility, a deeper truth. Clarity often comes in flashes, subtle insights. Trust those moments. Follow their lead.
The more you can kind of compassionately embrace the fog, just notice it's there.
The less power it holds. Understanding your defenses gives you the choice about whether to keep using them in the same old way.
So this deep dive, it really is just a beginning, isn't it, the learner?
Absolutely. These are complex, personal themes. They invite ongoing reflection, ongoing growth.
Carry these ideas as living questions. As you navigate the fog in your own life, what resonated most for you today?
What still feels unclear, or maybe invites more exploration? Those are the threads of your unique story. Keep following them.
As you go back into your day, try to stay curious. Pay attention to subtle shifts in how you see things, those little moments of clarity.
And know that every step you take towards awareness, towards understanding yourself, it brings you closer to your own truth.
Because beyond the fog, there's always light, even when you can't quite see it yet.